Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup. It is January 29th, 2022. We've almost survived January, a couple more days left, and then whatever else is going to be happening, of course, through 2022 that we still have yet to figure out. At least for tonight, we've got the news. So let's talk about the upcoming game from Blizzard, where they have announced that they are working on a survival title. Very interesting one, especially in light of the Activision Blizzard merger with Microsoft. We've also got Halo Infinite breaking records across the board, being the top-selling game in the Halo franchise, as announced by Microsoft. And, of course, we've also got news on the Steam Deck dynamic cloud sync functionality, which will allow you to sync your games between your PC and your Steam Deck and play everything on the go with very little issue. Again, it is January 29th, 2022. We're going to roll our intro and get things started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another NPCs Weekly News Roundup for the week of November 20th, 2020. It is Friday. It is, where's my date? It's September 18th, 2020, here to our first story, and this is actually breaking news for all of us right now here, too. Figured this is kind of a big one to cover, of course, with who it is. Joined via Discord by Kyle, because we're in the midst of a pandemic still, and, of course, everything is all kinds of crazy. So this thing is a chonker. I mean...
yeah, it's a beast.
It's huge. Doing that we had the Resident Evil stuff, that they were successful with Castlevania. Welcome to another NPC's Weekly News Roundup. And it's the news time. I am joined, of course, by Kyle via Discord. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Man. There we go. We are live now. I hit the wrong button there just a little too fast, but that's okay. We're here. We're live. Yeah, it is January 29th, 2022, and there has been a lot going on in the news. But before we get to that, of course, my name is Travis. You guys all know me. You guys got Kyle over there on that side. Kyle, hello.
What's up?
Well, we got some news to talk about actually this week. Some fun things here. And I actually hope here I didn't do a really good job. I thought I had everything set up actually here pretty well. Oops, I actually forgot to include one thing here. Let me grab that. Boom. Okay, done. Good. All right. I thought I was set up in advance, but obviously I made a mistake by having some YouTube videos queued while I was waiting for it. Anyway, so we got a lot of news to talk about here, and this one relates actually to the last NPCs discussed that we or two NPCs discussed that we posted ago, and this one talks about NFTs. So this story comes from Video Games Chronicle here, and is talking about a VP at Ubisoft saying that we don't get NFTs, that we as the consumer do not get or understand what an NFT is for, or any of the sort of benefits or anything, all of that fun. So what the exec ended up happening to say here, let me bring that up. So the exec did an interview with an Australian financial comparison site called Finder, and the VP's name, he's part of the Strategic Innovations Lab. It is Nicholas Pourard. He defended the publisher's plans to add NFTs to its games despite huge player backlash. He did say that it was a reaction that they were expecting. We know it's not an easy concept to grasp, but Quartz is really just a first step that should lead to something bigger, something that will be more easily understood by our players. And then he goes on to say, I think gamers don't get what a digital society or digital secondary market can bring to them. For now, because of the current situation and context of NFTs, gamers really believe it's first destroying the planet and second just a tool for speculation. But what we at Ubisoft are seeing first is the end game. The end game is about giving players the opportunity to resell their items once they're finished with them or they're finished playing the game itself. So it's really for them. It's really beneficial, but they don't get it for now. What the fuck? I mean, I normally don't curse like in the news, but what the fuck?
But that also doesn't give really any indication what the items really are. I mean, I just watched the trailer as you kind of were going through that was on the website, and they say all these big things like they are numbered, they are unique, they remember, their previous users. It's like, so what? If it's only an item that's only good for one game, and the current lifespan of most online Ubisoft games, other than Rainbow Six Siege is like maybe 2 years at max. And then, even then, I mean, you see significant taper off after 6 months and a year. So, what's the true value in them? Do they transfer to other games? Or am I going to be able to take that same skin, that same face mask, that same pair of pants with my numbered knee pads to, the new Splinter Cell game, to the next Tom Clancy game, to, whether it be Ghost Recon, whether it be, um, another um, Rainbow Six game, or so on and so forth. They're just not very forthcoming of what all it kind of includes.
And that's the thing I'm really noticing kind of about this talk about kind of like the ignorance of players right now, not understanding NFTs. Well, you're absolutely right. The fact that they're talking about, oh, well, here is this thing that the gamers don't understand, but obviously you have put it so eloquently that gamers do understand it, is that does this game have value in any, or does this NFT, excuse me, in this game have value in any other game going forward? We now know, of course, that, or we knew originally with the announcement of Overwatch 2, that skins, like all your cosmetics, your sprays, your voice lines, and that would carry over to Overwatch 2. So you'd be able to start customizing your characters at least right off the bat, not have to work like from scratch to get everything again. Counter-Strike Global Offensive has been going on now for, it should be hitting its 10-year anniversary this year. I believe it released in 2012. So it'll be hitting its 10-year anniversary this year. And every single case, every single skin, every single key that has been made available so far, now granted, some of them were limited time things, but those are still available into the game this day, like to this day, and are able to be used still, even with all the different changes, especially with the game going free to play a couple years ago. Now, you're absolutely right, though, is that because they want to bring up all these different things for NFTs, it's like, okay, well, it's in a game. Where is the value actually going to be with that NFT in other games going forward? Are they going to have some sort of linked Ubisoft universe where an NFT from Rainbow Six is going to transfer to Ghost Recon, or is going to transfer to another, like a Splinter Cell? Let's just say if they come out with Splinter Cell again. Exactly. It's like there's not all these different things. You might have your cross-platform or cross-promotional things where, hey, you purchased Rainbow Six Extraction. Well, we're going to go ahead and give you this skin from Rainbow Six Siege that looks like what this character's skin already is now. Like, look, here's a skin for Vigil. We're going to go ahead and let you use that in Rainbow Six Extraction as well because you now own both. There's that type of continuity, but that's it.
And Ubisoft is notorious for doing that. I mean, you look at the Far Cry games, for every single, well, not every single one, but I want to say for 4, 5, and probably even 6, you have the ability to play, get the Voss skin or get the Pagan Min skin, and you can play as those characters rather than the hero of the game. So I mean, it's just one of those bonuses that Ubisoft has given you as long as you have your account tied to the club Ubisoft, or Ubisoft Connect. All the companies change them every 5 years or so, and that's another thing. They haven't even settled on an online platform for PC. How are we supposed to trust NFTs? When they have one game that lasts going on 10 years. I mean, what, they're up to 8 now with Siege? They don't even have the tenure that Counter-Strike has. So I mean, it makes it a little rough for them to try and make these outlandish claims that we don't understand what these NFTs are and what the value is, when they don't understand, what the longevity of it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at what's happening with Ubisoft shutting down Hyperscape.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what exactly is going to be the value of those things that you have unlocked and put all the effort into for Hyperscape? Were those going to transfer over to other Ubisoft titles now? It's like you've put in all this effort, and granted, yes, the game was not as successful as they were hoping to, but they also released it into the landscape of what has really been a problem for battle royales. And it's like they're saying we don't get it, but obviously we do. And the problem is that they don't get it. It is a money-making scheme right now. There are so many different scams going on that involve NFTs. Hell, I'm going to make mention here. It's not gaming related, but I find this funny. Do you know what a CVE is?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, a CVE. Don't quote me here on what this acronym is, but I believe it's a confirmed vulnerability explanation. Maybe I think is what it is. But so a CVE is a report generated by like one or two different nationally or internationally recognized organizations when it comes to a vulnerability in a product, a program, an application, anything like that, like the Log4j issue that was found in Minecraft, where people could exploit the different things, or if you remember the term Spectre meltdown with problems in CPU with Intel and AMD processors, it goes back years. Okay, these things are published and these are used in the security community. Some asshole has created something called crypto CVEs, where you can actually NFT a CVE. So if you want an NFT for a vulnerability that was, maybe targeted Microsoft's email servers for whatever reason, now you can have that. It doesn't mean you own the vulnerability. It just means you have an NFT of the actual reporting saying, hey, this is out there. This is the score we're giving it. Okay. What Ubisoft is doing, and this even goes back to Konami though too, is that they're so latched on to this immediate money grabbing concept that they just are they're trying to rake in the money as fast as they can based on the buzzword. And it's terrible.
Yeah, this is like trash data collection at that point.
It really is. Like, I mean, there's other ways to do it.
You're just saving data that's meaningless. I mean, that's like if you saved every chunk of mail, including like credit card offers and, buy this magazine, and you called it art.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are different things, like things that are actually physically tangible, like the people who go and get comic books graded, and like maybe you get like let's say that you have this copy of Spider-Man that is it's issue 1 of when Spider-Man actually came out, and it rates as like a 9.6 or whatever, and you could sell that for a whole bunch of money. There are multiple copies of those that exist, but someone took the time to take that physical item and maintain it and manage it in a way where it is still, looks like it did day one and has maintained its worth. A digital asset like the screenshot behind me that I'm using for my green screen right now of Green Hill Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, that's just a right-click copy-paste, just to be able to have it, okay? And that's just, God damn it, it frustrates the hell out of me. But Serpent Knight is...
like I said, it brings me back to the days of when you had to go to like GameStop or Target to buy, discs of 20,000 clip art images for $40.
Yeah. And so Serpent Knight here on our chat has said, I heard that several gaming personalities on YouTube are being used in unauthorized NFTs. That is also correct. There are people... there are like Twitch streamers and YouTube personalities, especially those in the gaming space, who have had their profile pictures actually just, simple copy paste and put into these NFT marketplaces by someone else to resell. And most NFTs are just adjustments of these one things, like whether it's a color correction, whether it's a different background. Again, it's what we talked about like in the NPCs discussed a few weeks ago was the it's the monkey wearing the police hat or the monkey wearing the fireman's helmet. Okay, that's really it.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying here, though, is that, yeah, exactly, is that people are being used for this stuff. And gamers are currently a big target right now because, as we've seen with a lot of other things released over the few years, with remasters and remakes, with the pop culture stuff like pop vinyls and posters and other gaming memorabilia stuff, and that is that they're feeding on the nostalgia here to be able to make a quick buck. And for some of those things, I think we can look past because obviously there might not be ways to play a certain title, so a remaster or a remake might be necessary. But some of this other stuff, come on. We're not stupid. There are people out there who are going to invest in these things, but I swear, I just don't know what we're going to do about it.
And shame on them, honestly.
No kidding. Absolutely, no kidding. Sorry, I'm trying to... I don't know if you're hearing it back there on your side, but I'm trying to get my microphone in the best spot, and the stupid boom arm keeps on just like slowly, just like... Brrr. Anyway, this bugs me. I don't own NFTs. I have a little bit of crypto because I was just curious. The money's out there, whatever. I know you bought one just for the sake of buying one. Let me ask you this.
Oh, not yet.
You haven't yet.
Still on the quest to buy an NFT.
Okay, because you haven't found one that you've really like, I want this, right?
Initially I was just gonna buy something stupid, but if there's a way that because now on Twitter you can pay $3 extra to use your NFT wallet to become your background profile picture wallet, basically. Um, I guess there's something you can actually use these NFTs for, but you have to pay money to do it.
Yeah. Oh,
So maybe I'll change my Twitter profile to an NFT when I make it
well,
happen. But no, until then I've only watched some money that I threw at crypto deplete
okay.
slowly.
Well, let me add this as the last thing on NFTs because I am so fed up with this topic. Not necessarily like that
Mhm.
we're talking about it, but I'm fed up with it in general because it's become the buzzword like metaverse. Um, and this is one thing for people to be aware. For anybody watching who is curious about crypto, who's curious about NFTs, there is currently a known problem in one of the well-known NFT marketplaces right now. I think OpenSea is the name of it. OpenSea is the name. Yeah, OpenSea. And um, someone was able to actually upload an NFT. And through that upload, for people who have been purchasing it or what have you, they've been able to actually exploit getting people's information through that NFT. Like, you've been able to actually grab information through something in that code to be able to actually pull user details when everything
So
across the
someone's
blockchain environment is supposed to be technically private in that sense, like where you're not advertising your wallet ID or anything like that. It's very interesting that that's happened and it's funny,
yeah.
but at the same time, it's like there is risk even in that regard. It's decentralized and there's so many other things that can happen, but love of God, guys, this is all so brand new. The security is still not there.
See, that leaves you vulnerable to a whole new market then. I mean, if you can embed or encrypt code into the image of an NFT, that once you open it, it's just like opening a viral email. It sets off wildfire in your computer. That then you're just paying to destroy stuff at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, that's what it comes down to, is what it feels like. It really
Yeah.
does. Like it. Oh my God, this just
Yeah,
this
it's
just this
infuriating.
just boils my blood. That's
You knew
all.
it had to come, but
I
I
did.
don't
I
know.
really did. But even so, let's carry on before I have like a heart attack because I'm an old man now. Um.
Real
Well,
quick though,
go ahead.
that Castlevania, because I was scrolling down at the bottom of the article, and I know that Castlevania map sold for buku bucks, and I know somewhere I have a Castlevania map. It's not like that one, but it's a map of Castlevania physically. I think it's one of the Game Boy Advance ones. Maybe I should frame that. That's real art.
That's your NFT right
That
there.
should be yeah, that should be an NFT. Screw digital art. That's physical. I own that.
It's just, yeah. Please do
That's why
that.
it just makes me mad.
Yeah. Yes. I know, but let's just take this. Let's move on. Let's take this energy and put it into something else right now that's a little bit more positive. And this is actually our title story for tonight. Thanks to, of course, I love the thumbnail that I put up there just from that artwork itself, though. But Blizzard's new survival game. Blizzard has announced that they are working on a new survival game. They haven't said exactly like really anything about it other than that they are working on it. So Blizzard put up a tweet on the 25th. So today's what, the 29th now. So that would have been, what was that, Tuesday. They put this tweet up on Tuesday that showed off this artwork, and they said, "We're building a survival game in an all-new universe. Join us in writing our next chapter." So according to this article from TechCrunch, it said, though it offered few specifics, the company teased a survival game in an all-new universe this week, known for now only as Unannounced Survival Game. The company linked to a job postings page with the announcement, which also featured a few glimpses of art from the forthcoming game. So I will go ahead and bring that up here, and we can, I'll do my change around to all of this. So some of the artwork that we do have, of course, up here does put this into a situation where it seems like it's crossing boundaries, where you're existing in the real world, but then you are making your way out of the real world into a fantasy type setting, at least based on some of the concept art that they've put together. But they are hiring, of course, for just about everything to actually start working on it, whether they're looking for people to not only design the things, but to come up with the things, to to put all those things together, to write for the things, and to make the sounds for all those things. But they haven't exactly explained what. Obviously, of course, that it is. But you can see here in the picture that like what we were actually exposed to at first is some sort of hunter-ish rogue type character. It really does look like something that could be out of the Warcraft universe that is tracking some sort of magical footprints here. Whether they are the footprints of the people that we saw here in this top image, wandering through and they're tracking them down, and they might be magical in some way, or there's the rainbow right there. Magical or something in some way, or they are, something else. I don't know, but the fact that Blizzard has announced something new is pretty slick. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I think it could be cool. I think they should stick with unannounced survival game for the title.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I hope not. Come on. We don't need that one either.
Just super trolly. No, I don't know. It kind of has a touch of WoW with the whole fantasy scenario, but I definitely it definitely feels far enough away that it's not WoW. That's for sure.
True. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the potential that we may not actually see anything else
And
tangible
maybe
on
I
this
just
for a
see
couple
that
years.
I just figure, Blizzard and WoW and Diablo, that's, fantasy, but I don't know. This almost has almost like a Magic the Gathering style artwork to it. So it kind of makes me wonder what kind of game it'll be. I don't know. That could be cool. Could be
Hearthstone
cool.
2. Electric Boogaloo.
Just because the costume that the character has, it almost makes me wonder if we'll get some sort of like Monster Hunter type scenario thing where you get to actually I mean, it's a survival game. He's got a dragon helmet. I don't know too many survival games that get that super creative. Maybe you get to harvest animal parts. That'd be cool.
Well, one
Make
thing
stuff out of them.
that would be cool. One thing I almost wonder is like, what if Microsoft did say that there is a survival game in the works right now where they want to get something that is apparently like it's supposed to be Monster Hunter style. What if just by some strange chance that like it'd just be funny to think that what if this is what Blizzard's actually working on?
Or maybe, Blizzard was working on it and they kind of were like, they heard about it and, through the purchase, they were like, well, we'll just hint at it too. We'll just be really loose about it.
Maybe, yeah. Especially with
Yeah.
dropping at least a couple little bits of like concept art here and there just to be able to show us like, hey, this is the idea we've been penning around, and throwing around there. But I don't know.
I mean, it's not outside the realm of the Xbox community, like in the higher ups, to be kind of trolly like that. They sent out refrigerators to YouTubers and celebrities, so
That's true. But like, how long did it take how long did it take Blizzard going from what was Project Titan to actually it being Overwatch? Like, how many years was
Holy
that in
cow.
between?
I don't even remember. I think I had stopped even paying attention to it at one point.
Okay. Because that's just
'Cause
what I'm trying to think of is just like what was the time frame between those two?
Yeah, because then I remember about hearing it as Overwatch, and then I was like, "What's Overwatch? Oh, this kind of looks dumb. Oh, wait a minute, this is that Project Titan. Well, maybe I'll give it a look."
Right.
So
Right. Well,
yeah,
that's why I was just kind of curious. Like, what was the time frame between us learning about Project Titan and it becoming Overwatch? That was all I was really wondering because that might give us more of a clue as to like how long it'll be until we actually see whatever this title's actually going to be, But
as long as they don't screw things up like they have with I don't know Diablo 2 and with Warcraft Reforged, I'm good. I'm good.
yeah, please keep your fingers crossed that some sort of new IP is not going to mess us up as fans, even though, of course, as we've already announced and talked about, we're taking a break from Activision Blizzard titles for at least a while.
I don't know. It could come out and have some scathing feature that just, rears back and says, nope, you're not playing this.
That's very true. That is very true. So let's move on to the next story we've got here. And of course, it is about Halo. Um, Side note here, of course, Kyle and I have hit 100 on the Battle Pass on there. We've played a little bit of the current event, and we're currently sucked into Rainbow Six Extraction and Rainbow Six Siege right now. So I guess we'll be waiting to go back to Halo, but we can at least say we contributed a little bit to this with it being the biggest launch of the franchise. With that, of course, yeah, when Microsoft announced their financial report, um, it was earlier this week, I believe, is when they announced this. They did indicate that Halo Infinite so far has been the biggest launch in the Halo franchise ever. 20 million players on Halo
Holy
Infinite.
cow.
Yeah,
We really are all Spartans now.
we are. So this report here from IGN was talking about, so their Microsoft's quarterly earnings for October through December of 2021 saw the company's gaming revenue reach $5.44 billion, a new record not just for the holiday season, but for the company's quarterly gaming sales in general. It's a $411 million increase in gaming revenue from the same period last year when the Xbox Series X and S had just launched and everyone is still largely locked down. They said that Microsoft's growth was driven almost across the board. Xbox content and services was up 10% thanks to Game Pass and first-party sales. Xbox hardware was up 4%. And then, of course, the key indication also is that it wasn't just Halo Infinite having the 20 million players, but Forza Horizon 5 at 18 million players.
That 12 million were promptly stolen and put onto Halo.
I'm sure probably the case too. Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But what do you think? Like, what do you think about
crazy
that?
Numbers.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you think Game Pass really is what did a lot of it? Like, if they didn't do this on Game Pass and it was still all physical, yeah.
I think it helped quite a bit. If they would have had consoles because of the chip shortage, I think it would have helped a lot more, honestly. I think the revenue from last year probably would have been doubled, and it still would have been closer to, like, instead of 8%, probably 18% up from last year. Had the chip shortage not happened right in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, I'm sure it probably would have been more. I think what was actually at least a little beneficial, though, is that at least it was released on PC, though, at the same time, and they put a lot of emphasis on PC. So I think outside of just not just Game Pass, but also that it was available on PC at the same time. And compared to like Halo Master Chief Collection, we didn't have to wait all these years to get these other games, we didn't have to wait to get this game on PC.
I feel like though there's a lot more players that bridge that gap to spreading Game Pass to other players, or spreading the word, I guess. Sounds very cultish, but that are going to be the console players. I feel like that's going to be your player that has maybe two profiles, that uses your remote play on their cell phone more frequently or on their tablet than someone that uses the PC Game Pass.
Yeah, maybe.
That's just me. But and maybe that's why I feel like if they had the consoles to sell the first year and this last Christmas, sales year over year would have been much, much higher.
Oh yeah. So I think for them to even hit that, like, even when consoles weren't necessarily a in-demand problem, we didn't have any sort of supply shortage. If you go back to when Halo 3 released, I mean, it was simple to get a console and it was simple to get a copy of Halo 3. There wasn't necessarily an issue, and they still hit records even with that one alone. So for us to be in the midst of a pandemic, for this game to have been taken back and worked on for an additional year, for us to get a new console, and for this thing to release, and for it to hit the 20 million mark, at least, or over 20 million people playing it, that's pretty impressive, to say the least.
Yeah, and actually, where was I going with this math equation? Oh yeah, you figure this last holiday season, just the holiday season, was just over a 12th of what they paid for the Blizzard Activision deal. So can you imagine the profits if if the calculations I had thrown at you would have been correct, like instead of 8%, 18% this year. Holy cow.
Yeah, especially because you look at around, not necessarily, well, no, actually, yeah, it was around the same time.
Hmm.
You had Vanguard and, yeah, you had Call of Duty Vanguard launch. Um, what was it? I think a couple weeks before Halo Infinite's campaign did, but only about maybe a week or so before the launch of the multiplayer, which dropped, as a surprise.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, imagine like if they had all of that in tandem, and it's like here's Vanguard being sold at the same time, as Halo Infinite. That oh my god, the revenue that they would have been bringing in, too. But even so, I mean, even without any of that, it's just plenty impressive, though. Plenty
Oh,
impressive.
definitely.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
kudos to 343 for making a great game, by the way. I mean, I
Yeah.
really enjoy Halo Infinite multiplayer. I liked the campaign. A couple things they could have definitely done different, but at the end of it, I think it was a good fit.
Well,
So
and you think about the offering of games that we had October through December. I feel like a lot of the games that um well, maybe not a lot of them, but there's a big majority of the games that were actually selling at that time from the beginning of the year because consoles were starting to become more available during the holiday season.
very true. Very true.
So, I don't know, that's just a lot of revenue in what, a 3-month time period?
Yeah, it really is. That is
Yeah,
quite a bit. Now
just
here
insane.
now here's the interesting question. Did they release Halo Infinite for the Xbox One? Did they do a backport of it to
You know,
Xbox One?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to turn on my Xbox after the cast to check that out because unfortunately it's tied to the same monitor that I'm using.
No, you're fine. Let's see. Following open beta release, campaign was released for Windows, Xbox One, and Series X and S. Okay, so it is available on the Xbox One. Okay,
Oh
I was
wow.
just curious. I figured that they probably did do that. I just couldn't remember.
See, and I thought they were only gonna do multiplayer on the. Now that I'm thinking about it, they had announced that they were only gonna do multiplayer on the one. So
Ah,
they they've done strides. They've taken strides for sure.
yeah, but I think it
But
was
I mean,
probably
it
also
also paid off. It made for a broader audience. It obviously brought more people from multiplayer to play the actual campaign of the game. So
true.
kudos to them.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I think they probably did it though, at least, or probably worked on it, given that they were in the understanding there might be an issue getting an X or an S. So
Hmm.
maybe that was
Yeah.
part of it. I don't necessarily know. Just another thing to potentially address. But anyway, let's carry on here on this one. Here's an interesting one, especially after the announcement that came out earlier this week, though. No more Star Wars games from EA soon. So it was brought up, of course, earlier this week. There was a joint announcement from Lucasfilm Games, from EA, and from Respawn that there were going to be 3 new Star Wars titles coming out here sometime soon: a sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, a new first-person shooter, and a strategy game made by former veterans of Firaxis Games, who are known for XCOM and the Civilization series. Um, but this article from VentureBeat, from the very well-known Jeff Grubb, who has his contacts and information all throughout the industry, goes on to say that but beyond the Bit Reactor game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel, and the FPS project, EA is done with Star Wars. DICE, which is still putting out fires with Battlefield 2042, is focusing on the Battlefield franchise going forward, and EA is looking once again to emphasize its own properties. Uh, by reducing its licensing fees and centering its own IP, EA is mitigating some of the risks involved in producing blockbuster AAA video games. Even that level of risk has recently scared the company, but the success of Jedi Fallen Order and games like Resident Evil 2 Remake at competitor Capcom have changed EA's perception of what can succeed. So it looks like EA um, is basically stepping away from what they've been doing so far with the Star Wars license that they have, and are looking to do other things, at least after these 3 games are done. And I guess it makes sense in the grand scheme of DICE being as busy as they are with Battlefield 2042 and the dumpster fire that has been as of late, especially the rumors of some things like Portal going free to play potentially. Um, I mean, what do you think? I mean, this is probably a good thing for the Star Wars like video game license that it's not all just with EA, right?
I think so. I mean, EA's had the license for a little while. They put out some games, uh, and granted, Battlefront, it was a beloved series from the PS2 era, but let's face it, both the new versions 1 and 2, they bungled the release hardcore. One felt unfinished. Two had all those issues with loot boxes at the beginning. And I feel like it still hurt players that won't come back to this day because of the whole loot box thing, even though they've kind of fixed it, like I'd say 98%. That it's still wonky how you earn things, but at least you don't have to worry about trying to earn one Jedi out of a loot crate that you have 1 in a billion chance out of.
Yeah,
On that note,
exactly.
though, I think it's good for the Lucasfilm franchise, or the Lucasfilm name, to take the Star Wars franchise and take it around other people. Give other people a chance to throw their ideas at Star Wars and see what happens with it. Obviously, EA, they want to do the same thing over and over again. Like so many companies have fallen into the same funk, I guess,
Yeah, that's
of
absolutely
of
true.
just producing, the Assassin's Creed, 5, Battlefield 6. It just it gets egregious, and to a point where you're literally putting out the same thing that's reskinned and maybe plays a little bit better, but let's face it, it's the same thing. And I don't know, I think there's a lot of creativity still to be had with Star Wars. We've seen that with the new movies. We've seen that with what Respawn was able to do. Even though that it is being taken away, the license is kind of being taken away from them. We got a really cool Star Wars game out of it with Fallen Order, and maybe someone else can do that too. I'd like to see another Outcast style game. I'd like to see, you know, something crazy like another Star Wars fighter game.
I would like to see like Star Wars 1313 actually made because we had that
Oh, you
unreleased
had to
demo
say it.
footage. Yeah, we had that unreleased demo footage drop earlier this week, like showing off what they had been working on at least at that point. You know, I
Hmm.
covered it in the quick save on I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Thursdays. But they had, of course, there was unreleased footage that had actually made its way out, and it looked like, at least for where it was at, it was definitely in that kind of like demonstration phase to say, like, here is what we're thinking at least, and here's how some of these things work. And then, of course, they showed off some of their advancements in their motion capture to really put it together. And of course, that didn't happen because that was done at LucasArts, and unfortunately, LucasArts got shut down about a year after the acquisition of Lucasfilm and its sub companies by Walt Disney, by Disney itself. And so for that to come back would be actually pretty cool. I think the success of like The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, which you haven't watched Book of Boba Fett yet, you really should. It's actually pretty good. Uh, I think those might actually drive potentially more of those things to come out though too. And you shop around that license to other people, or bring it right back in and see it's like, hey, we can bring back LucasArts and we could start making games again in house.
Yeah, and you say the 1414, and the Book of Boba Fett,
1313.
or 1313. Sorry, the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. Like, we could just get a game entirely about the bounty hunters of Star Wars. That would be cool. Like, I know many years ago there was a book that was, and obviously it's like legacy, it's not canon or whatever anymore, that was specifically about the bounty hunters that were searching for Han, that would have been the ones on the deck of the Star Destroyer that Darth Vader was trying to recruit. I
Or
mean, they could make a game specifically about those guys and get
right.
40 hours out of it.
Or maybe even do this, and I'm throwing this out there as an example, is take like go back to Star Wars Shadows of the Empire for the Nintendo 64 and redo that into some like larger, grander scale thing where
Yes.
you're fighting IG-88. You know, you're going up against an AT-AT. You're taking down different stormtroopers. You know, you've got to fight. I think there was, it's like on the ground. You have to fight an ATST. You know, there's a lot that could be done for the original properties that have been done. Like you said, you'd like to see a kind of like a new take on Jedi Outcast, or even maybe a continuation. It's like that would be perfect.
Yeah, give me Kyle Katarn back.
There you go. Yeah, like we don't need an MMO. We don't need a I think Jedi Fallen Order's got it pretty well covered on some of the lightsaber combat. But yeah, it's like go back to some of those other things that were good and, like shop them around. Like, hey, can you guys make this?
Ooh.
And maybe that could happen. But it's one of those things again.
Give me a new pod racing game.
There you go. I'm down for that too. But like everything else we see, it's a wait and see approach based on how long this is going to take, because these 3 new titles were just announced. We don't have any details about them other than that one is a sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and it's probably going to be at least 3 to 4 years until we're probably playing these games based on current development for a lot of other things that are happening right now too. So
well,
it's
and
just
another
waiting.
thing to consider too is Respawn still is working on Apex Legends. They still potentially could have another Titanfall in the works.
No,
maybe.
I don't want to be teased by that one because I really want it.
I'm crossing my fingers. I want that so bad, dude.
Me too. Trust me. Me too. I will drink to that. My energy drink here.
So
the beers are upstairs for later. But anyway, the beers are for me to drown out my tears and sorrow for no Titanfall 3. But anyway, let's move on here because Kyle, this is our last story in the news right now. And this one actually directly relates to you because you have pre-ordered one of these things, and I'm sure that this tech is probably going to be very important to you. So in our last story, Valve has announced their cloud saving technology for the Steam Deck, what's going to allow you to play games on the go, going from PC over to your Steam Deck immediately after, or vice versa. So Kotaku here reports, going off of information from Valve in their developers blog, talking about what's going to be called dynamic cloud sync. According to the article here from Kotaku, they say it promises to be a bridge between traditional PC gaming and the Steam Deck, but it won't be universal. Developers have to manually add the setting through Steamworks, and it's unclear how many will, especially by launch. Still, Valve released detailed instructions for how to do so, along with the announcement, so hopefully enough developers will be able to make good use of it in the next few weeks. So that means what it will do here, and this is per Valve, is Steam will automatically upload all modified save game data to the cloud prior to the device entering sleep mode. Users can then resume their game on any PC, laptop, or other device. Steam will automatically download any save game changes when users return to their Steam Deck and wake up the device. So it's basically like if you took your Nintendo Switch and after you saved and hit the power button, the bigger difference here is that as soon as you hit that power button to lock the screen and kind of put it to sleep anyway, something behind the scenes in the code on the Steam Deck is going to grab any changed save files and immediately publish them to the cloud. Now, granted,
that's awesome. As long as it doesn't do what the Switch does, where it's like, oh, you have cloud saves. Oh, you don't have those right now. You can't play this game.
Yeah, and that's really terrifies me that, that could happen. But obviously, of course, the tech is there. It's just for the developers to enable in their games, which I find partially interesting that Valve can't just turn it on themselves. Like they can't introduce something into the actual Steamworks framework that sends out a notice that says, for at least the games that they validated and verified to work on Steam Deck, that says the cloud save tech will work. All you need to do is hit this, but it basically makes them do that, and then it takes all of the stress off of the devs, remembering to do it, and it's just there. It's just like, okay, new update published, that's it.
I do feel like that could be embedded code, and you know, maybe it's not the best thing for them to leave it to the developers, but on the other hand, I mean, it's hard to say how open these things are going to be. I mean, we've gotten glimpses out of them. Adam, people have been able to play them, and I've seen lots of YouTube videos on them. But really, what is the full capability of them? Because I mean, what kind of options do I have? Am I going to just be able to import saves? Is it going to be all that hard to actually get my saves off the computer? That this is like a complete necessary evil that they needed to, make the developers do it rather than them do it themselves, or what's the hang up, I guess.
Yeah, it's. I guess that's really what it's going to be. I guess the hang up is going to be more so like, what could this fundamentally change in the way that my code is set up to work with Steamworks right now that could cause problems down the line, because not everybody's code is universal. I mean, obviously to package it up and put it
Right.
into the Steam marketplace for sale, they've obviously got to have a certain layer of code in there that does have it interacting with Steam. But there's probably something else though that does require them to just be like, it's like, okay, at least validate, beforehand. It's an easy, seamless thing. You want to give your players the best experience, you got to enable it, but it is an option. So
Right.
this is what the interesting part is, though, Kyle. And this is what I want you to focus on here as well, is that on the comments on the Kotaku article, um, one of the commenters here says, "Wait, there's a possibility that the games on Steam Deck won't just use my PC save? Why not? I assumed all my PC cloud saves would just work. I don't want to have separate saves between them. I feel like that kind of defeats some of the purpose of this system." And then,
Okay.
as now,
Yeah, that totally rocked my world, because that was my actual assumption.
Now, this is the interesting thing, though, and I think it's just more of I think part of it is that it's just a secondary feature to the cloud save functionality that already exists, because someone here commented farther along on the same one saying, "I'm not understanding this properly either. I already use a main PC and a GPD Win Max portable gaming PC, and I can sync my saves between devices no problem. Got it a year ago and it worked fine then. And it even worked as far back as when I got my first GPD Win around the time that the Nintendo Switch got released a couple of years ago, and sync saves were already a thing on Steam." So the guess here is that it looks like that it's not going to really fundamentally change the way a Steam cloud save works. The fundamental thing that's changing is that the tech inside what a cloud save can do is that as you play a game on PC, that cloud save will automatically publish as soon as you're done, like playing the game. It will publish and push up to the cloud with no problem. And then on your Steam Deck, there's going to be even more embedded code where it will retrieve your most recent cloud save, but as soon as you put the console to sleep, it will run that additional code to, instead of like waiting for some sort of predetermined time, as soon as you press that button to lock it, it will immediately sync what you have as long as you've got the internet connection. I think that's all it is. I think that's where the
Yeah, I
concern
see. I
needs to
think
just, yeah.
it must be that feature, the fact that it syncs all of your cloud saves the minute you put it to sleep, and it probably pulls all the published new cloud saves when it wakes up. I think that's gotta be it.
I think so too. I think it's just a little fundamental change, like underneath the hood, to be able to say, yes, that your cloud saves are going to work as they already do. But to
Mhm.
get the best experience, you are going to need to, like, you as devs are going to need to turn on this other part of it. Like, yes, I really honestly think that like Valve, for anything they've already validated, should be sending a message out to devs. I think, like, and give them like a week's or 2 weeks notice, potentially to say, hey, we validated your game and have confirmed that it's going to work on the Steam Deck with no issues, or with these minor issues, or something of the nature, and then it's like, in 1 week or 2 weeks time, we are going to enable the dynamic cloud sync functionality on Steamworks and incorporate it directly into your game. Um, we are giving you this notice in advance that this change to Steamworks is going to happen. Just please be aware of that. And then it like gives some sort of option for them to either potentially opt out, to say, hey, we're not sure about this. We're just, it's another thing that we need to make sure of in our code base. Or two, allow for, well, really, it's like either push it or allow them to opt out for, for however long they need to. But make it so that way it's more for the games that already exist on Steam. But for any future games going forward, like you see for any other platform, they have to meet these certain criteria. And dynamic cloud sync needs to be one of them.
See, and
Because then
I'm
that's
almost
tech that you
starting to
carry over
think.
to your that's tech that you also carry over to your PC as well. That it's like if I go to shut down my PC and I finish playing a game on Steam,
Mhm.
it's like it should just run that really quick and then just be done.
See, and that just it almost makes me feel like it's almost like a stupid proof feature that they're putting on there. Like, oh, you forgot
Exactly.
to, turn on your system before you took it out, but it was plugged in, so you had your Steamworks installed, so it just pulled the save files since it was on a Wi-Fi. I think it's just it allows that open line of communication, and it's just that extra buffer to ensure that you will always have your cloud saves.
Yeah.
That's just the way it comes off to me.
No, that is the exact same thing that I'm seeing though too, is that it's an
Yeah.
idiot proof way to at least help. But I don't think it's an idiot proof way in a sense that says like gamers won't save their games. I think it's more of one of those
No.
things to say like we're just gonna make this happen as like just make this better for you so it's a thing you
Yeah,
don't
just
have to
more
worry about.
seamless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a hey Kyle, you ready for it? Ready for it? You're gonna
Mm.
like this. It's a quick save.
Ah, you got me.
Sorry, that popped in my head a little bit ago. I was like, I just don't know when to drop it, but I guess it was better that I saved it for the end because that's it for the gaming news this week, Kyle.
But that wasn't a quick save this week. This was
No,
the weekly news.
this was the roundup of the things we primarily didn't talk about in the quick save. So, with that, that is it for the gaming news. Of course, the gaming news roundup of this week. If you want to see any of the other stories that came up over the course of this week, be sure to check out the quick saves that we did publish on Tuesday and Thursday. Check those out here up on our YouTube channel as soon as we're done here and have the stream shut down. Of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you know when a quick save goes live or we're going live, of course, with this or any games that we could be playing. Of course, follow us on social media on Twitter and Facebook at the NPCs Podcast. And be sure, of course, to follow what we do normally, the podcast itself. Our homepage is anchor.fm/the-NPCs-podcast, or you can go and check us out on any of the podcast platforms that you do happen to like. Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. The list is, for at least right now, as far as I've seen, endless. It helps us out a lot when you listen, of course, too. And because we talked about NFTs as well here at the beginning of the news live stream, be sure, go back a couple weeks, go check out our talk about NFTs in gaming. And it's a very interesting one given how Ubisoft definitely was kind of talking down to us gamers as well. But coming up here in this next in this next NPCs discuss, we've also got we will be talking about video game acquisitions, of course, especially with the Microsoft, Activision, Blizzard stuff going on from the previous week. But with that, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We will catch you all next week.
Laters.